Hi,
Avinash and Amber, you came in at the same time. So it's 7 o'clock and we're going to start. And I want to welcome you, um, Avinash, with TomoClub. Very eager to have you share about what you're doing and what your curriculum offers those in mindfulness education. Can you give us a little bit of just a short background about you and TomoClub?
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Atiya, and welcome, Amber. So, I'm an engineer for background, and I did my research from University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, back in 2015. And since then, I've been running startups in various fields, from consumer electronics to education. And throughout my journey, one thing that I could always come back again was about skills that really matter. And especially now in the age of AI, when there's so many conversation around skills getting commoditized, especially whether it's coding, whether it is your designing, business administration, these things are becoming much more accessible because of AI tools.
Mm.
And it's the people skill that's gonna be relevant, not only in your professional life, but also in your personal life. And yeah, that's how we started Tomo Club.
Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of a background about you and Tomo Club. I know I've had some personal experience with Tomo Club. It's fun, engaging games, just really steeped into this idea of mindfulness-based social emotional learning, that it really engages students from all grade levels. And I would wanted to see one, if you just wanted to just kind of like dive right in and talk a little bit more about what the curriculum offers. If you have any slides that you want to share, we can pop those up, or it can be more conversational. For those that are watching live, just hold any of your questions. And for those that are watching on demand, if you have any questions, you can just put those in the comments in our library and we will address those, as they come to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I also would love to talk to the core part of the product immediately.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I hope, can you see my screen?
Yeah, that's great.
So this was exactly is Tomo Club stand for Tomorrow Club. We just shortened the word, and we are basically a life skill curriculum, but we're teaching it through games. So I think the problem that we could identify, because we started in 2022, right after the pandemic, and there were multiple reports how every school and every teacher was spending much more time on behavior management than teaching. And there was a sharp rise in behavior issues. And the correlation was very obvious, that there'll be students not showing up to the school, which will lead to declining academic score. And which will lead to decline academic score. And there were multiple reports of how a good social emotional learning curriculum was able to turn things around for a school, from increasing the students' sense of belongingness to improving their test scores. Um, Before I jump into what exactly Tomo Club does and how it really impacts, I want to tell you the story of Michael. It's a very it's a story which is very close to my heart, because he's a child in sixth grade in a school enrichment area in California, and it was easy to put a label on him, just say that okay, he was a troublemaker, disruptor, uh, and it was kind of like teachers and parents were almost giving up on him. But then when we started working with that school in last year around September 2023, initially in the first few weeks, he was not interested. Like he was looking at other kids doing our product and he was like, I'm too cool for it. I don't want to do it. But when he saw the kids having fun, then he slowly got attracted.
Mm.
And then he saw, okay, students are working together and communicating to each other. And just few months back, his mom called us and said, I haven't seen anything like this before. I haven't not seen Michael changing so drastically from school academic score point of view versus also how he's behaving in the class, how he's behaving at home, with the siblings. And she literally cried on the phone. So for me, it was such a big uh, transformational impact that we could bring in. But the reality is that it's not just Michael's story. Literally every child at a different stage is facing these negative emotions, whether it's stress, self-doubt, body shaming, to trauma, to disappointment, to pressure to succeed. And I think it's very important, and that's our mission of how we can convert these negative emotions into the positive side, how we can help them develop more creativity, grit, empathy, conflict resolution, where these words are not just words, but they actually mean something to them. And
Avinash, I
that,
had a quick question because,
yeah,
and I know, well, go ahead and go to your next slide because this is going to touch on it, which hinges on the question that you guys are particularly situated at the intersection of using AI technology, this idea is SEL, social emotional learning, within the sector of education. So, what is it that really differentiates what you're doing in the classroom with the curriculum that you've created through TomoClub versus, other SEL curriculums that are available on the market?
no, I think your question is right on exact timing because I was about to touch upon that. So when we started and when we identified the problem, we knew that it's not just one student, but everyone is facing this problem. Then we deep dive. We started doing a lot of student surveys of how currently social emotional learning is being taught in schools. And apart from textbooks, which was used in most places,
Mhm.
and it also was mostly video libraries. So what they will do is they'll make a group of kids watch a video on how to resolve conflicts or how to be a good leader
Mhm.
or how to be empathetic. And like if you're sitting in a classroom of let's say 20 kids, maybe two or three kids are really paying attention to the end of the video. Otherwise, it's very difficult to keep the students' attention intact. And by the end of it, how many of them were able to apply was even lesser. So the lack of engagement in the video-based products was heard throughout. So that's why we were like, okay, we need some active participation product, something which students are doing live in the classrooms to
Mhm.
really make sure that these words, these all these words are not just words, but they actually have a meaning behind it.
Mhm.
And I think most important part as a startup journey for us has been to listen to the students, listen to our users. And the one thing that was common was gaming. Everyone I was talking to in this audience, either they were playing Minecraft or Roblox or
Yeah.
Fortnite. And I was like, I have my answers. I just need to pick these things up, be a good listener, and just combine them. So that's how Tomo Club is differentiated from all the products, is that we have an extensive game library where all these games that we have are multiplayer. It's not like you can play by yourself in a
Yeah, I,
silos.
I think, and let me just interrupt here. I think one of the things that what you're saying is that traditionally what you've seen, and you just kind of restate what you said as well, is that what you were seeing in the classroom is that students were passively watching some content videos, right? Some SEL content videos. Maybe they were learning some of the things that were being discussed in those videos, but there needed to be more engagement with the technology. So um, and this is one of the things that I appreciate about the Tomo Club curriculum because it's a multiplayer experience, multi-student experience, where instead of a one-on-one video to students passively viewing, you have multiple students engaged with the technology, trying to problem solve and strategize using these SEL skills throughout the process.
Absolutely. So that has been the major differentiator of what we saw in the market. And so this is what we do. We have been working from grade 3 to high school, but in the last 1 year, what we have seen is that upper elementary and middle school are the most lucrative audience because they actually have much more bandwidth in their daily schedule than high school kids. And the product now we can proudly say that it's research back and we have an end-to-end solution around it. I want to show you this video of how it actually looks like in a classroom.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you can watch more polite too. Okay, so soup. Continue. Oh no.
So it's a team setup. Students are sitting together
So
on
the teams
tables.
are at the tables, the quads.
So yeah,
I'm not there. No, not there.
so you could see, that there's a lot of chaos during the gameplay. They are talking to each other, but it's a good chaos in a way. So let's say
Mhm.
if there are 15 kids in the classroom, we would divide them into team of threes. So there are five teams who are sitting
Mhm.
together and playing and discussing. And yeah, this is just one of the game that they were doing. We have a library of games. Each game is working towards a particular skill set, and students play together to learn leadership, collaborative problem solving, emotional intelligence. This is how the student journey look like. From module one of communication and collaboration up to go to leadership and team management, covering module two around resource management, module three on conflict management, module four on emotional intelligence. And this is our version or our adaptation of Castle framework. So all these lesson planning that we have done is based on the framework which has been promoted by Castle. And we have an expert team of educators, psychologists, curriculum designers, game designers who have given their a lot of thought behind each game of how it comes out. And so these are various videos of how it looks like in a classroom setting. So yeah, each student need to have one-to-one device because they have to move their character, they have to do something around it. And how an active classroom looks like is it depends. We give a lot of flexibility to teachers how they want to do it. So they can play the game for 10 minutes and
Mhm.
then they have a lesson plan to discuss about it for another 10 minutes. And then they play the round two to apply what have they just discussed to be much better. So the round two becomes very competitive with the students. And most important thing is we realize that every school has different bandwidth. So some schools can give 1 hour per week to some schools who can give just 20 minutes on an everyday basis in the advisory period or in enrichment periods. So there are different places where we feel that we fit in, whether it's after school programs, where there are mixed age kids, or whether it is an in-school dedicated classroom, a product can be relevant. This is the data which we have from our current schools we work with. This is the most important part is the reduction in behavior referrals. And the next part is the student engagement. The students want to come back to again to do TomoClub because first of all, they have new games every week. So it's not monotonous. It is exciting. They don't know what is going to come up, which keeps them on the edge of the seat. Um,
Can you talk
yeah,
more about the one, let me just say, I appreciate
yeah.
the student-led instruction piece in Tomo Club's curriculum. And then I'm thinking more now about the discussion that you're talking about after one of these games are played. Is that where the direct instruction comes into play, where perhaps the one facilitating the lesson then talks about some of these SCL skills that they're trying to pull out of this experience from the game that the students are playing? So maybe they're learning the strategizing, the problem solving. There's some empathy building skill in there, but there needs to be some kind of scaffolding throughout the lesson. So the students are, learning the verbiage, the vocabulary, knowing how to articulate some of these skills, how they're going to apply them in everyday life from a gaming situation to, a social situation, for instance, in the classroom or at home or in a conversation with another student or a teacher or a parent.
No, yeah, thank you for bringing that point. So we have basically two models. One is, of course, first of all, it's not just game. So let's say even if they're spending 30 minutes to it, it's not
Mhm.
like they're playing game for the entire 30 minutes. They will play, it's a combination of gameplay and discussion and the scaffolding of what you just did in the game and able to connect that to the real life so that, they are taken away home much more actionable items is done through direct instruction. The direct instruction can be either to the school teachers, so we'll train the school teachers to use our product use our lesson plans and develop connections with students. The second part is a lot of schools have tremendous teacher shortage right now.
Yeah.
So, and the current teachers that they have are also kind of that plate is full. So what we do is we also offer our own experts who can conduct these sessions. Um, and these experts that we have, they are all background check. They have done a kind of their education in psychology, or they understand students' social emotional needs. And even in some cases, if students have special needs, they're able to manage those classrooms. So yeah, so we have one is the product model in which we give the technology and the curriculum, and the other model is the product plus service in which we also conduct those sessions.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. So these are some of the testimonials from teachers, from superintendents, that they have not seen anything like this before in terms of student excitement, student learning and changes. So this is in a nutshell, if I have to make the final like a comparison of what goes in with traditional solutions versus TomoClub. We call ourselves beyond SEL because we are covering up not only the five component of self-awareness to emotion regulation, but we go beyond that to teach leadership, problem solving, and innovation. The second part is, of course, we boast about the interactive multiplayer gaming, which brings a lot more engagement than passive video libraries. Third part is we provide our own teachers to take away the heavy loading, heavy lifting from your own teachers, and we have seen much more consistent results week on week, in which student attention and participation is always high, which makes sure that the results are much more effective. So this is lastly, I just want to tell you about how the implementation happens. We have been working a lot in making sure that this implementation can be as shortened as possible. In fact, working with Athia also, we have learned a lot of things of how to make it streamlined. So now what we do is we let schools decide their own curriculum, so they can, from our suite of games, from our suite of skills, they can help us choose what they want to do it. Of course, we have our own recommendations, but I think having school involvement during the design process is important because then they do it as per their needs. Then we just need the setup, the cohorts, the schedule, the pre-assessments, and we're good to go from weekly sessions. So we have been able to make our curriculum much more accustomed to the way schools want to do it. And yeah, that has been a journey till now.
What have you found any patterns in the schools that are using TomoClub in terms of how they're chunking this out in their school day? You had mentioned before, if you wanted to start a game, and I think if I recall, the lessons are in 30-minute blocks.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Around 30 minutes, and you wanted to chunk it out in 3 10-minute segments throughout the day, or 2 15-minute segments. Is there the flexibility to be able to do that? Is it an easy to pick up where you left off so you could get through, the content that the students are learning in that lesson?
So one thing is we have realized is working with K-12 that there has not been a single thumb rule or a cookie cutting system for work that works
Yeah.
for all. So that's why we make sure that the product, when we were designing it, we were making sure that it has the flexibility. So let's say when I start the game as a teacher or as a moderator, I can choose how long the game is going to be for. So let's say if I choose the game, the first round to be just for 5 minutes, when the students can just grasp the game concept, understand what the game is all about. It's not about excelling in it, but just develop the basic critical thinking about it. So they play the game for 5 minutes in that case, and then they have a quick discussion. And the next round, I can make it for 20 minutes. So there's a lot of flexibility at school end of how they want
Mhm.
to implement the product. But if I may say, a common pattern I've seen, or the most common pattern is the advisory period in the morning. Or some schools do it after lunch, where they are able to bring something like this. Um, because at that time they don't want to talk about academics directly, they don't want to talk about math, science, English, but they want to talk about something that can complement their STEM skills, or they can improve the classroom engagement. So I think there we fit in really well. Then there are multiple other programs that I don't know if you heard about 21st Century Community Learning Center program, 21st Century CCLC funds for that, or they have a lot of after school programming in which they found this product to be fitting in well. But the duration is very flexible. In fact, the delivery model also is very flexible. They want to do it themselves or through our consultants. That has been the case.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that that was going to be the response, in terms of the flexibility and adaptability of what's possible using this in the classroom, which makes it great, right? Because it's definitely very hard to have a pretty standard formula of how it should be implemented, particularly with, just given the state of education and teacher shortage and what's possible in any given school day with whatever issues may be coming,
Oh, yeah.
school's way.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing is also there. See the way um, the innovation in education happened in the last few years has been mostly around the access part. If you look at from Khan Academy to uh, OutSchool to various other products out there,
Mhm.
they are solving the problem of access.
Yeah.
You know, um, making live session available through Zoom or making recorded videos and their assessments possible. I think the next 20 years in education is all about engagement. The product that can crack students' attention and improve the delivery model is gonna really crack it, because now we have to understand how actual learning happens. And I would say most of the education has not been around the learning pedagogy. They're mostly around the access aspect. So I think gaming really fits well in the intersection of engagement and teaching, and it is definitely in a positive light. Also, when you play a game, it tells a lot about you. You know, uh, it can really become a safer space for students to express themselves, to share their ideas, and they don't feel, they don't get a stink eye from others that, oh, you are not know it all. So I have seen so many times that if students are participating, even in the very basic social emotional learning curriculum, they like to refrain because they're like, oh, if I say something, the other students will call me know it all.
Can
And
you say more about that and why?
I think, first of all, the curiosity level of or the participation level of students, it goes drastically down from elementary to high school. And in high school, you're too good or too cool to contribute. And I think the also reason is about being self-conscious. They start to feel that if I say something, hopefully others doesn't make fun of it, or hopefully it doesn't sound stupid. This feeling of over consciousness actually reduce their participation. But when it's a game setup, and let's say when you're, figuring out a puzzle, and if you say something which, even if it is stupid, nobody's gonna call you out. So we have seen that gaming really break downs you know, the guarded walls of among students, and
Mhm.
they can feel much more comfortable sharing their thoughts the way they are, and nobody judges them. In fact, the more you participate, the more better you're doing in a game, the students actually appreciate that among each other. So the peer support group or the peer comfort zone has been much higher in gaming, what we have felt till now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I, I see, I've seen some of that myself, with just how technology can break down these barriers of communication. Um, and just read different things. One being the fact that we have a whole generation that is just very comfortable using the technology, and it's a great first step to really hitting on some things, like you said, that would just be really difficult to open up about. When we think about some of these things might be a little bit too vulnerable to share in group discussions. But when you start with you know, having the technology in the conversation, not just
Yeah.
the words that are being said, but in the actual context of the experience, it
Hmm.
makes it a more comfortable space, one that someone knows, which given, the age that we live in with, the access to technology.
No, absolutely. See, I think if somebody asks me that, how are you feeling, or explain what happened in a group setting,
Mm-hmm.
it's highly unlikely I'm going to share my real feelings, right?
Yeah.
But on the contrary, if there's a simulation environment, in the game setup, and which is also, so one of the game that we have is around risk taking. It's called Cosmos Color Clash, and in which you have to take risk to really win. And while doing that, a lot of students face multiple emotions, and they can talk about the emotion in a game context, much more comfortable,
Yeah.
rather than somebody, pinpointing them and making them talk about themselves, because that's too real to do in a group setting, or
Mm-hmm.
too uncomfortable. So, but they can do these conversation in retrospect of a game much more comfortably. So we have seen that aspect big time.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
And one more thing that I think I would like to bring up is a lot of schools, of course, they're talking about, screen time, or they're talking about taking kids away from digital products because they
Yeah.
can be. And I always say that. So a lot of schools tell me that, hey, I have a baseball team, or I have, a drama team, or they can do debating, they can do multiple other activities which can teach them social emotional skills. And I say 100%. In fact, if you look at any activity during the day, whether it is even cooking, or whether it is running, or whether it is studying together, math, science, you can really draw concept of SEL everywhere. So I always tell parents that, if your kid is going out and doing something, they are developing their skills, no doubt about it. But we were also of the opinion that in a school of, let's say, 100 kids or 1,000 kids, there are going to be 3% or 4% of the kids or 10% of the kids involved in those activities, because that's what the bandwidth is. Then what about the next 90%? And also, in these kind of setups also, it becomes very competitive in a way that not everybody is able to participate equally. So we have seen, even if it's a baseball game, it becomes very negatively competitive, and social emotional skills does take a backseat. Plus, we were very, very interested in everyone being equally participating in it. So hence, digital games became our go-to thing. But if I talk about the way gaming world is designed, so if you look at Fortnite or other kind of games, their business model is directly proportional to how much time you spend in the product. So more the time you spend on the product, more probability is high that you will end up buying some in-game assets, which is the business model for them, which is not the case with us. It's not like you spend more hours on TomoClub, it's going to be beneficial for us or going to be profitable for us. Rather, we charge schools on a license per student. So our intent is not at all to hook them up to our games. And on the also additionally, we make our games at a lower frame per second, so they're not addicting in general. They're much more. There's no shooting game, no racing games, which are gonna be the go-to thing
Can you
for most.
explain that a little bit more, lower frame per second?
Yeah, so if you play a game, you'll see that it's a turn, most of the games are turn-based, and then it's not like few students can drive away the conversation, because the gameplay in a way is invoking your cognitive mind. It's not
Mhm.
like you click, 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 and you can move faster. It's not like you're able to shoot, and you're able to move faster. So because the frame per second, higher the frame per second, more, you have seen those videos of how Cocomelon or other products, they have high FPS because they are attracting students with different colors, with different speed of dopamine hit at
Yeah.
different ends. But on the contrary, if you look at a much more slower paced games or slower paced videos are much more effective in terms of, students able to grasp it. So I think there's a massive difference in our business model in which we are not looking to have kids dopamine hit in the game, but rather using it in a very ethical manner.
Thank you. There's a question that Amber has. She's saying, is there a subject area that has shown this to dramatically help in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So there are multiple game-based curriculums in STEM. So if you heard about Prodigy or Splash Math, they do a lot of math-based gaming. Then there are then Duolingo. I love that myself. I've been learning Spanish through Duolingo. It's a complete game-based program to learn
Mm,
language. Um, so yeah, there are a lot of games around history of how you actually interact with the like being in a simulation environment and being a part of that journey to learn historical events. So we have seen that games have been making their ways in multiple subjects. And social emotional learning, we haven't seen much games around it. So that was my area of choosing accordingly.
right. Thank you. Amber, was that helpful? You can just give me a thumbs up too, or if you wanted to clarify, you can just put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But apart from that, Athia, where like what else do you think? Like because we're just having a very general conversation overall about skills and students and learning. Other concerns that you think, when you talk about TomoClub or when you talk about the audience that you work with from a school leader point of view?
Can you ask the question again in a different way?
Okay. So basically, as a school leader point of view, when you hear these kind of products or when you hear these kind of
Mm.
solutions, what other inhibitions comes in your head, which I should be addressing right now? It can be helpful for the recording, it can be helpful for the people who are joined in.
Yeah, I think one I see as eh, having the time to internalize how to implement the curriculum successfully. That's going to
Yeah,
be super key in something like this, especially when you bring the technology piece in. If there are any language barriers from the students, getting like there's a digital literacy piece
right.
that's important too, particularly if there's also a language barrier piece. If you have a high ELL population, that may add on the time to access the curriculum. I know you and
Hmm.
I have talked about that just
Yeah,
briefly. So, and that's more of the, even if that's like you have the teacher in the classroom that's facilitating that. And then if you have the layer where you have a TomoClub facilitator helping, facilitate the lesson, that can be very helpful, but also having someone in the classroom to troubleshoot those those issues that might occur. But every class is different, every campus is different. And I don't know if you've had other conversations with other school leaders about some of those, I would say like initial, those would be like initial, I don't even know if I want to use the term roadblocks. You mentioned the term inhibitions about it, but I
yeah,
think these are just some things to think about, right? That when we're given like a time frame, knowing that we have to get through the core part of the curriculum in a given day, how can we make this part a little bit more quicker or to go more quickly with getting students logged in but maybe you guys change this now that I'm talking about it, there was like a few steps to get logged into a game, but then if it were just more simple of just clicking a link and
yeah.
then everybody's logged in, and that would be great versus getting them logged in and putting in a code. If we could eliminate some of the steps in the process to get them connected to the technology more quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you picked up a lot of different aspects in your conversation. First
Mhm.
is, of course, how quickly they can get along in a game. So
Yeah.
now there's a single link. So right now, if I am hosting the game as a teacher or as a moderator, I'll give you the link where you click on it, you put your name, and that's it. You don't
Yeah.
need to put anything else. You don't need
Okay.
to
That's
choose
what it
anything.
was. I remember having that conversation. Yeah. Yeah. Because
So
before it was
one,
a few more steps, or like there were two more
yeah,
steps before that. And but that was a great change for sure.
yeah. Earlier they had to select the region, they had to select
Oh,
the
that's what it
room
was.
number.
Yeah.
But now we have skipped that part. Secondly, also when you talk about student population of how comfortably they are able to use it, that is the beauty of games, when they
Mhm.
get into a game, irrespective of how their English proficiency is. It doesn't matter because all our games have 90% graphics, and even the 10% content that they have, it's mostly keywords like leaderboard or
Yeah.
score or player, which is much more those keywords which know are known to people in general. So the language barrier to excel in the games is very low. It's not like you have to be great communicator. You don't have to be great at English to really ace the game.
Hmm.
It definitely becomes much more open to that idea. So that is second. And the biggest roadblock when you talk about is basically the status quo. So let's say if I am a school of 15, 20 teachers who are taking these sessions, I in general will have much more comfort with whatever is going on. So a change is always tough.
Yeah.
And that's something we are working a lot in terms of training, in terms of making sure that any teacher can get along with the product quicker. And when they see that students are much more engaged in the classroom, they love it. So the point is that teachers needs to feel motivated if they feel that the impact is there. And I think a lot of teachers, when I talk to them, they feel that they're investing a lot of their own personal professional development time, and they're also doing a lot of classroom engagement, but then they're not getting the results in previous products. On the contrary, they are spending much lesser time in their training and doing TomoClub, and they see students much more engaged. So I think when they see the impact, then they're ready to take invest time in changes and all.
Yeah, I wanted to underscore what you said about, and you didn't exactly say it in this way, but the access for English language learners is real. So this is, let me say, I guess the accessibility for English language learners is a really great tool because, as you were saying, um, there are a lot of keywords that are really important for ELL students to be exposed to. But there is a question really quickly from Amber. She's asking if there's a grade this shows that it really works for. I'm thinking, where are we seeing more of your engagement in lower school, middle school, high school? Because she goes on to ask for, is this for a younger age opposed to older? Now I know Tomo Club is for K through 12, and you have
Mhm.
different games for the different age groups. However, where are you seeing it, really taking hold and students really
Yeah.
grasping onto this curriculum?
No, thank you, Amber, for that question. So the sweet spot, or I would say the segment where um, we have seen the maximum impact is upper elementary and middle school. So grade 3 to grade 8 is the most effective um, from multiple aspects, like not only from our curriculum point of view, but also from the students' bandwidth point of view. So we have
Mhm.
seen that high school, although we work with high school, and I think it's super important because high school kids have their own problems, and they need things like this to do together with other peers. But yeah, upper elementary and middle school is a much better segment for us. Also, pre-K to 2, I have seen there are multiple products in in that area. Very less products are out there which can get the attention from middle school students. So yeah, 3 to 8 is our most exciting segment.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to pause here. I know you're finished showing your slides. Thank you so much for sharing what Tomo Club offers. Thanks, Amber, for your questions. I know Emily joined us late. And of course, those that are watching on demand, if you have questions, you can put them in the comment area in our PD library, and we will address those as they come in. But any other questions for Avinash regarding what he is up to with Tomo Club and their curriculum and what it can offer your students and your school? I'll take a moment and pause. You can come off mute or type your questions in the chat.
Yeah, but I'm happy to answer the questions later also, Atiya.
Sure.
When you put the video out there and you have comments from other school teachers, more than happy because more the questions I feel always happier, that people
Yeah.
are taking it more, giving more mind space to it. And yeah, I think I do feel that we are onto something. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of time how effectively it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you shared a link with me before. Maybe this is something you can share with our members, with the participants tonight, or those that are watching on demand, a link to your sample, like a sample curriculum. Maybe not accessing the games, through the computer, but the paper format of maybe one of the modules or a sample lesson. I know you've emailed something like that to me before. And I know that those here tonight and those watching on demand, I think that would be helpful to have them, have something to look at to kind of contextualize the conversation a little bit more, since we didn't have the experience of, going through a game, and if they want more information or to reach out to you and TomoClub to learn more.
No, absolutely. I think what I'm gonna do is we have on our website itself, we have a demo game
Okay.
which anybody can play. So of course, our games are always multiplayer, so you need at least one more person to play with. So you have to host the game, and then you have to share that link to a friend who will join, and then you both can play the game together. So I'm sharing in the chat. This is the game link, tomoclub.org/game access. You just
Okay.
put your details and you're able to play the game. Of course, it has to be on laptop. It doesn't work on phone. And also then we have this Google Doc, which is like a lesson plan for that particular game.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
so I
That's
think
great. That's exactly what I was asking about, and that would be that's perfect.
so the session guide that we have, it will have the session objective, steps to build skills, energy connectors. It's like a proper lesson plan.
Mhm.
And you also have the game. So we have tried to make the game very easy to use. But in case you're not able to play it or not able to do it, then you can always feel free to book a time slot on my
Mhm.
calendar, and I'll be more than happy to host the game for you guys.
Okay, awesome. This has been really, really informative, and I'm grateful that um, you were able to come on. This was our second time we were scheduled last year at the end of the year, and happy that we could get you scheduled for the month of January. Amber, I see you coming on again. I'm not sure if you were disconnected.
No, I just wanted to play the game.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
Avinash, and everyone that was able to come tonight, thank you so much. Avinash, I'm going to have you hold back so I can talk to you separately. But Amber and Emily, thank you so much. For those others watching on demand, thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments, please, I'm going to send an email out for our attendees tonight with the links that you shared to play the demo game on your website and to get access to the sample lesson, and be expecting that email either tomorrow or in the next couple of days, along with just a couple of other forms, attendance forms, feedback forms, those kind of things. So thank you guys for coming tonight. Again, my name is Athea Davis. I am the events coordinator for professional learning and development with the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully. Always great to bring different facilitators and experts in the field to help you guys really bring, the latest in social emotional learning, teaching and curriculum and resources into your classroom, into your schools. So if there are no other questions, you guys are free to leave. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Bye.